Don't have anybody in here yet, but just figured I'd go live for the first time in a few weeks. I've been out of the shop locally here in Terrace. I'm in the northwest corner of British Columbia, just inland on the coast. We're probably 16 hours from Vancouver. It's a fairly long drive, so I'm in the middle of nowhere. But we do a music festival up here in June called Valhalla Fest. I'm one of the many people who helps run it, and it's kept me out of the shop for most of June. I didn't really have any time to produce any YouTube videos, and I just wanted to get back in the shop now. It's the festival's over. I've got some custom orders to work on, and I'm just kind of getting back in the swing of things here. So I don't know if you can hear the rain. It's pissing outside right now. It's really coming down. But yeah, I'm just turning on my torch. I've got a cremation order that I'm going to be working on today. I encased some ashes. A family friend, they passed, and I'm going to be doing a couple like sun catcher pieces like these. These don't have any of the ashes in them. This is a couple colors from North Star. We got Carmeline here for the pink, and then we've got Aquamania here. I'm going to be layering some Aquamania over a cobalt blue today. I might do a bit of the color prep in this live, but for now I'm just kind of getting the camera on and saying hey to everybody. So I see I got one person in the live right now. Thanks for watching. Glad you're here. But yeah, I've got my kiln warming up here, and this is a bit of ashes that I've prepped up. So this is actually the best ash encasement I've ever done. I've done quite a number of them, and ashes, if you're not careful while encasing ash, it can really bubble up while you work it. And I've spent quite a bit of extra time in the past adding extra glass to kind of trap in bubbles and keep all the ash encased safely. But this time I kept a blank open on both ends, and while I was encasing the ash, I very carefully warmed the piece, and I got the ash just to start sticking to the inner wall of the tube. And once that was done, since I had the open end, I could dump out any excess. And you really want to try to get any excess out of there, because any amount extra that you have in there is very likely to boil and start to off gas and create a lot of bubbles. So as I have done more and more pieces with cremations, whether it's people's pets or family members, the time you take at the start to make sure you have very fine material so that you don't have big chunks, it goes a long way. This was the easiest encasement I've ever done, so I'm pretty happy about that. And like I said, I've got this big chunk of Aquamania, and I'm gonna pull this down to a thinner rod. The ash as well, I'm gonna pull down to a thinner cane, and then I'll be striping this over a cobalt blue, and then adding the ash on top of that. So I'm just gonna start hooking up my oxygen tanks. I did a swap yesterday. I had to go pick up a pickup truck, and I don't have my own truck at the moment, so I've been borrowing trucks when I need to swap my K tanks. I'm hoping to eventually get myself set up with an oxygen system. I do have a single oxygen concentrator in the shop, but I've never turned it on, and I need to do some troubleshooting to make sure it's all operational. Yeah, I see I've got a second person in here watching. Glad you're here. I know it's been a little while since I've been in the shop. Like I said, through June I helped put on a music festival here in Terrace. Valhalla Fest is kind of like predominantly an electronic music festival, but we've got a live music stage as well. There's 3 stages out there, and throughout June I do a lot of site prep. I spend most afternoons and evenings and even full days out there. I did do a bit of production in the shop throughout June, but the festival really takes over, and I manage vendors, and so I check in all the food vendors and artisans and things like that. And then I manage the merch table at the festival as well. So I get my hands full during June. And I think next year I'm going to try and produce some nice tutorial content that I can upload prior to June, so I can keep things going all the time. But this is something I wanted to talk about. I know a lot of people expect a weekly upload from YouTubers, and I might, instead of doing a weekly upload, I'd rather go really deep and try and give you guys the best quality content I can possibly do. So instead of holding myself to doing a weekly upload, if you're not seeing me for a little while, it's because I'm taking my time doing something quality. Like, I really want to get more camera angles. I'm probably going to start doing 3 cameras in the shop at times. I'll get a few more angles so that we can really display everything I'm trying to do, all the processes I'm trying to cover. I really want to really give you every angle I can and describe everything very carefully. So if I'm not up weekly, it's just because I'm putting extra effort into what I am making. But at the moment, I think I've got to hook up my oxygen tank. I'm gonna start to do some color prep, and I might just move the camera over and I'll fire up the torch. But I might stop chatting for a minute, and I'm gonna leave the live running. I'm not gonna go far. So yeah. So, something to talk about. I run a crescent wrench putting in all my tanks together. Might not be the best option. People always talk about how this is one of the best ways to round out the nuts on your brass fittings. But I always tighten them up real careful, make sure it's solid, and I've been tightening the same nut for 8 years, and it's definitely not round yet. I actually bought myself a wrench for doing tanks. It's got all the sizes that your B fittings should be on it from a welding supply store, and that thing rounded the nuts way faster than this ever did. So just keep off of it with vice grips. That's not a good option. Always back out your pressure valve. You want it. I've seen some guys, actually I was working in a smelter a couple years ago, and a lot of the dudes that I worked with, they would just turn a tank on with a regulator already open, and the pressure from the tank at, like, you know, I'm about to turn this thing on, it's about 2300 psi, and that'll hit the diaphragm that controls the gas flow inside the torch. You really want it backed all the way out so that doesn't happen. Is repeating that process, it just ruins the regulators really quick. And like I said, I've been running the same regulator for 8 years. It's a easy thing to just back that out. There we go. Okay, so let's slide this over here. Definitely haven't had a lot of time to clean my workbench lately, just being out of the shop, so I'm kind of dealing with a bit more trash glass on my workbench than I usually like to have. But it's definitely looking better than some people's shops. Actually, definitely don't need my headphones on at the moment. So like I said, I'm going to be trying to do some of these. but I need to do a bit of color prep before I get around to this. I messaged my customer, and this blue is not quite what they were looking for. They wanted this blue layered over something darker. So I think I've got some Chinese cobalt right here. A big 4-inch, or I think it's almost 4 feet long. Sorry, not 4 inches. I'm just find my scoring tool here. Yeah, right by my water bottle. I usually just tug. When I tug a rod apart, it tends not to leave. If you look at the end of these, this one, so there's like a little bit of a edge that sticks out if you don't crack things nicely. And if you pull apart, you don't get this big nail that comes out of the end. Every so often I get one of these rods that I've snapped that has a bit of a, and if you don't break them away, they can touch the inside as you choke further and further up on the end of the rod, and you don't even feel them cut you, they're so sharp, and then all of a sudden you got blood everywhere. But yeah, I'll be gathering up this piece and adding some color over it so that I can make this prep so that we can continue on this project that I'm working on. So I'm gonna get the ventilation turned on and just get into this right away. Have something to hang on to once I've gathered this all up. tugging a little bit, trying to thin out this one end that got a little fatter as I gathered everything up. Looking like a nice cylinder now. So either 5 or 7 of these blue ones, and I'll be doing the opposite for the pink. Might use this big chunk. Get some thicker stripes on here, build up the glass a little faster. So I need 14 altogether. Customer wanted 13, and they said, you know what, we better not go with 13. Let's go with a whole 14. I appreciate their sentiment. I might not be superstitious, but I can get there with people. Up a little bit. And once this piece is done, I'll be able to layer some of the cremation or the ashes that I've encased already. I will have to pull the ashes down to a thinner cane to do the process that I want. Before I let this get too hot, I want to flatten out some of these dabs where I flame cut the rod away. So I'm going to kind of heat them up, push them down. So everything kind of melts in a little more evenly. gets hot, and I'll work my way down to the first handle. I really like to try and get everything melted in nice and round before I start to twist things up. It gives you less places where the glass wants to fold over. Prep that I made before over, give you some nice blues underneath clear. What I'm looking for, a nice kind of evenly sized cylindrical shape. You see those blues at this end closest to my hand. I'm going to throw this in the kiln a little bit. I need to work on prepping up some caramel too, so I'm going to be grabbing I'm trying to remember if I have enough prepped up yet. little bit of this up. So it's going to be turned into a series of sun catchers. We're doing a cremation order, so I've got 14 little pieces like this that I'll be making in blue and pink. So it's like a teardrop shaped piece with the ashes encased in clear and then layered over. Tourmaline, I usually choose to pull down the slugger, but I don't really feel like heating up another slugger bar right now, so I'm just going to gather up this rod I pulled a little while ago. I'll be adding to it. Now, I'm going to pull this down a little bit so that I can get it ready for the next step of the process. I'll pull this to a thinner cane and split it in half, and then it's easier to draw the lines down the two pieces that I'll be prepping it. While I twist cane like this, I'll often kind of drag my thumb on one side to continue the twist. definitely done this quite a bit straighter sometimes, but this will definitely suffice for what I need. Might need a bit of a heavier handle on this one end though. Oh, lessons at a festival. I actually skipped out on bringing my torch to the festival this year. I'm gonna throw these in the kiln and turn off the fan here. So, yeah, lessons at a music festival, something I'd absolutely love to do. I'll be trying to build a mobile shop. I've got a utility trailer that it's kind of like a little rough, and it's, some of the wood on the interior is starting to get a little rotten, so I want to rip everything out, and I'm going to build a mobile shop so that I can bring it to festivals and markets and things like that and do demonstrations and stuff. But at the moment, I might actually end up even building a shop out at the festival grounds. I'm gonna have to talk to my friend who owns the property where we do our music festival. Yeah, man, I know exactly how that is. Like, festivals are often my most lucrative weekends, especially like electronic music festivals. I'm definitely, like, I've usually done demonstrations at the festival, like I said. This year I had a lot on my plate, and I just didn't want to have to think about bringing my torch and kiln and oxygen bottles out to the... I have brought my kiln out in the past, but it can be a lot, and I run everything on a generator, so this year I kind of just stepped back from doing demonstrations during the festival, but I was missing doing it. So I'd love to do some workshops and kind of like explain to people how I do the process. I'd love to have a shop where I can do group classes and things like that. I've finally gotten to a point where I feel confident in sharing how to do this with people. So yeah, I hope to actually set up next year in June. And yeah, I think I have seen a lot of, there's definitely a lot going on in Spain. I've seen some people actually even flying out from North America to go to some events like Spanibus and stuff like that. But my dream would be to like get a really nice setup to do demos at the festival and have like even a few torch spots and be able to invite some glass blowers to come around and maybe collaborate with me during the festival. It'd be really awesome to kind of get some more shit going on like that. Trying to keep track of these comments here while they... Come on. Let's... Live chat. There it is. Man, I know how it is being behind in the 420 culture. So, like, me being as far north I'm as I am, like, we're pretty much 10 years behind on any trends. Like, if I talk about dabs, most of the people I talk to around here are still hitting hot nails. They're like red hot, bam, let's cough our lungs out. And yeah, there's a lot of teaching that could go on around here. I'm hoping to actually try and do it myself. I would love to kind of show people how to do things properly. We're way out here where I am. Like, culture is, like I said, 10 years behind easy. So as far as I want to do eventually, I'd love to have like a proper shop. Like, the festival grounds where we do our music festival here is about 10 minutes from my house. So I'm hoping to build a space out there where I can do lessons all year long, and during the festival actually turn it into a place where, you know, we can do art demos and have like multiple artisans and like the people who are selling their wares in the market during the festival can do some hot nails and male joints. Yeah, I definitely see that shit all the time. I think the male joints are finally starting to disappear. But yeah, just want to like build a nice demo space so we can have people display and demonstrate their art during the festival. It's, you know, something I'd love to see, and being able to maybe, like I said before, invite some glass blowers from out of the area to come and work with me in the space. Yeah, I used to order all my glass, like you guys are chatting there. I used to order most of my colored glass from a shop down in Vancouver here in BC called Puff, but they recently shut down their warehouse. So they used to have 3 locations in Van, I'm pretty sure. And until very recently, there was 2, and then they shut down the last one and closed their warehouse pretty recently as well. So at this point, I order everything from the States. I pretty much order from either a combination of places. I'll order from North Star, Molten Aura direct usually. I've got a Lampwork Supply Color Club membership, and they definitely have some of the better deals. Smaller than a horse trailer. A horse would have a hard time standing up in what I got. Actually, I'd kind of like to trade up for something better than that. But yeah, I order all my glass from Mountain Glass. I actually haven't ordered from them since before the flood in Asheville. But I know they've got their Oregon location going now, so hopefully things smooth out for them. I know that shit's like pretty tough when you lose your whole studio or your whole warehouse. But yeah, I don't know. As far as getting glass, it's all in the States. Yeah, it's having a mobile torch spot would be pretty awesome. Like, as far as I'm concerned, my insurance for doing the festival like usually costs me like $300 for a weekend. So if I could build a proper mobile thing to do that sort of thing all the time, I'm sure I could figure out an insurance cost and contract that would kind of work for me better and be able to do it all the time, because $300 for a weekend is pretty steep when it comes to demonstrating. But for the moment, I think I need to I was thinking about heading inside, but like kind of want to keep this going with you guys. I'd order more than just sluggers, actually. I'm like, I do like slugger bars. I work with a fair bit of color that does come in sluggers, but I get rods too. I work with frit a little bit as well, like some amber purple rods right here. A canal boat, that sounds pretty sweet. Yeah, I was actually talking with our, like, at the festival that I help with, Valhalla Fest, our resident machine operator was talking to me about how the owner of the property really wants to build a stone house, but we've never done that before. So when I was talking about how I might like to build a shop out there, he's kind of got to questioning me about how we need a fireproof space, and the idea of maybe practicing to build the house that Ray wants one day. We could throw it up in, or at least like practice the process by building a shop for me, which would be pretty sweet. I'd love to be able to, you know, have a space away from my home and be able to bring some people in and not have to worry about who's walking in and out of my house, going to the washroom in between doing glass blowing classes. So I'm hoping to build a nice space out there where we can always work and do stuff out there and not worry about how many people are in my driveway on a daily basis. But I think it's time for me to run inside and grab a drink of water before I get back to this project that I'm putting together. I don't think I'm going to turn this on for the rest of the process. I really want to kind of focus and not think about who's watching and what we're doing. But I'll definitely be trying to do more lives. I don't know if you guys want to, or like, I've been thinking about trying to do a weekly live. So I still haven't decided what day of the week my live would be on. But if any of you guys want to, show up and hang out and like, let me know what's like the most convenient. Is a weekday, midday, afternoon, evening, weekend. Weekends can be a little harder. Definitely get a little busier on the weekends. But let me know in the comments when you guys think the best time to do live chat. Even if I don't do it weekly, maybe every second week. But you can count on me being around pretty consistently going forward. I'm enjoying being on YouTube. I finally got my my channel actually monetized last week, or a week, 2 weeks ago. I like in the last 6 months I've grown the account by 1,200 followers. I'm kind of impressed. I did not expect to grow the channel as fast as I have. So I want to try and keep that up, grow it some more. Like, let's go deep. I want to